Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode three of the Bear Down Breakdown podcast. Now, you may notice that somebody is missing, and that is, in fact, Gustavo. He's been kind of slacking off. I don't know what he's been doing. I do know what he's been doing. He is right now at a music festival. He has his friend bought him some tickets, so he is going to be there for a little while. I've had to take over a little bit. I know you guys hate my voice, but yeah, it's been fun. Gustavo's doing well. I know some of you have asked about him, what he's up to, but he is doing well. He is just at a festival and he's been very busy. But I'm here right now, and we have a very special episode today. This one means a lot to me because mainly just because of how, I've been watching this guy for a minute, and this was something that I mentioned with Swifty when we had him on, but you know, I watched these guys back in 2023, 2022, going through a bit of a rough patch, and these guys were kind of like the guys that I would watch. And so having the opportunity to have these guys on and, just being able to talk to them, like the coolest thing that I have just, felt during this whole time is just the fact that like how nice everybody has been that we've reached out to. It's genuinely been a very refreshing experience, like especially in the business world, because I'm a business major, and you go and you reach out to people on like LinkedIn and stuff, and they'll block you if you reach out. But if you reach out to some of these journalists, like Infanti, Swifty, all these guys, they've been so nice. Moriano, Pearson, like all these guys have been absolutely incredible, and we can't thank them enough for everything that they give. White Sox Dave, like all these media personalities have been so receptive to us and our show. And it's genuinely made things so great. Like we've been receiving so many great messages from people and we appreciate it so much. But yeah, it's really been a crazy ride. And we're slowly going up. I did promise if we do get to 100 followers, I will be doing the gag challenge. That's not going to be fun. If any of you don't know, it's basically so you get something like this, not like this, but like a pint, right? And well, half with about three eggs, and then the other half with Guinness, and then you got to chug it. So if we get either channel to over 100 followers, I will commit to the gag. But beyond that, let's get some Bears news. So we had the Joe Tooney extension. That was really good. I liked the fact that we cleared up a lot of cap space from that. We very easily could have given him a deal where it just completely screws us over. And I think Ryan Poles has realized that, especially these veteran guys, if you're going to give them a deal, it has to be team friendly. And you've seen it probably a lot where people have been talking about, oh, cleared up all this space, cleared up all this space. But why? Now, what I think is, I think that we're going to sign somebody and we're going to get through training camp. We're going to see who is good, who's not, who's kind of falling behind. And I think a lot of this is dependent on Kyle Monangai. Now, everybody, gosh, Swifty, Greg Gabriel, who fun announcement coming soon, stay tuned, have all been very high on Monangai. They love to talk about his no fumbles in the Big Ten, all of this different stuff that he has done. Me personally, though, I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's a seventh round pick. There's a reason why 32 teams passed up on him that many times. And, I'm not saying this to dock anything from Monangai. I think that he is a perfectly good back. And if you have made it to the league, you are worth being in the league. However, I think we need to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. People are just getting very ahead of themselves with what he's going to do, how he's going to perform. I think we just need to take a step back. He is right now likely running back 3 to 4 on the roster because we do have DeAndre Swift, you have Roshan Johnson, you have Travis Homer. I think we resigned Travis Homer, and then you got Monunga, and then whoever else is on the practice squad. And I think, he's got a bit of a tough battle. I think his toughest battle is going to be getting past Roshan because Roshan has been that third down back that we have had. We put him in, run him up the middle. And so Munungai needs to take advantage of the fact that he's a bit of a speedier guy, but he's physical. And from just what I've seen from him, he runs like a lot of guys have said. Isaiah Pacheco, who he also followed up there at Rutgers. Kind of crazy. And that's also one thing that I wanted to discuss. People use the Isaiah Pacheco comparison a little bit too much. And I think it's kind of a similar situation to how people were rating Drake May. I know it's completely different, but I'm giving you an example. People were helmet scouting And that's something that I have learned about recently, and it's a very hard stigma to break. The aspect of helmet scouting, just in the fact of you see a guy like Mitch Trubisky, played at UNC, he was quarterback there, wore number 10, and then you see, guess who? Drake May wears number 10, UNC. It's kind of impossible not to helmet scout, especially as Bears fans, as our guy was from UNC. It's hard, but I think what people are doing is the opposite. They're not getting afraid of Manungai. They're kind of propping him up a little bit. And I do respect the fact that Rutgers has shown that Checo is a very good back and that they can develop backs that are NFL ready. Granted, he's on the Chiefs, bit of a easy system to get into, and it's going to play to your strengths. But honestly, I think we just need to pump the brakes. I think Kyle Manungai is going to be a good back, but I also think that he's going to have a very tough road. And if we do sign somebody like a Nick Chubb, we trade for a Kenneth Walker, maybe we even get J.K. Dobbins if we want to go cheap. That's going to make it a bit harder. And I think that people aren't really looking the moves that we're making with the money. I think the recent um, Joe Tooney extension was clearing up a lot of space. It's kind of an indicator we might sign somebody. I know we need a lot of money going into training camp, sign practice squad players, all of that stuff. I get that. But I feel like they're signaling something. And I think that with Ben Johnson and his philosophy of, oh, there is no depth chart, you have to earn your spot. I think that is going to bode very well for Manunga, but not for Swift, we're talking about DeAndre Swift now, who people don't seem to like him and they say that he's struggling. But I mean, I think circling back, I think we need to relax on Kyle Manungai. I think we're putting way too much pressure on the seventh round guy who he's a good football player, but we can't pressure him like this. We need to make sure that he has time to get into the system. I mean, he's a seventh round pick. You know, he needs the time to understand the playbook without the pressure of everybody being like, oh my gosh, he's going to be the next great thing. Give him time. Don't overhype him because then you're going to be disappointed. And here we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have our now third guest to the podcast. This is Mr. Kieq on the mic. Would you like to introduce yourself, my friend? Oh, camera's coming on. Let's see.
Yeah, here we go. Hey, how you
There
guys
we
doing?
go. How we
Yeah,
doing? How we doing?
yeah, I'm doing
It's
awesome.
you got branded merch and everything?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I've been doing it
Yeah.
for a while, so it's a
Where's that
slow
on?
process.
Where's that
What was
on?
that?
Where do you got the merch on? You got like a
I think
website for it?
it was called I bought it from custom hats. Custom
Mm.
hats, I think it was. I have a couple more. I could definitely probably send you one. Just so you
Dude, I
can,
will, I will, I will rep that all day, bro.
yeah,
That is
I
a tough hat. Well, how have you been,
appreciate
man?
that.
Like, this is so cool for me because I gotta mention, I've been watching you for a minute. Back since 2023, I talked with Swift Sports about it, but you know, you, him, and the Windy City Productions were really, really big into getting me into Chicago media, just kind of
Nice.
educating me on the Bears, especially you.
Yeah.
Like, you have been so consistent, you, Swifty, and like, you guys definitely helped me through a bit of a rough time. I was going through a bit of a rough patch in 2023. I'd flip on you guys' videos, it'd be like Serenity. So I just got to say thank you in advance. This is so cool to have you on because like
Appreciate
I'm like blushing and everything. Like it's awesome, man. But
I
I'm so
appreciate that.
thankful to have you on. But for anybody who doesn't know about you, I don't know how, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Kiata Quinley. That's my real name.
Mhm.
But my podcast name is Kieq on the Mic, a
Sure.
Chicago Bears podcast. Started, I think I'm 4 or 5 years in now doing Chicago Bears content. The first question I get, because if you're really watching me, people know that I'm from California. So
Mhm.
the first question I get all the time is like, "Why are you a Bears fan? Why did you start a Bears podcast?" My great grandparents were actually born and raised in Chicago. So back in the 1920s, I grew up listening to their cool stories about how they got into the Bears games for 25 cents. And my great grandma even at one point said that she knew Virginia McCaskey. So I'm not
No
gonna,
way.
I can't
A
confirm or deny if
little
that's
flex,
true. But
huh? Dang, a
so
little flex, huh?
and the cool thing about it is that when I started the Bears podcast, it was almost like paying homage to them. They called
Yeah.
me Keek growing up. So when I started the Bears podcast, like, okay, what would be a unique name? And I was like, oh, let me do Keek on the Mic because paying homage to them.
That's awesome.
For them being big Bears fan. Yeah, so I've been doing it for a while. I do want to say thank you for all the love and support because this
Oh
is
man,
not
no problem, man.
content creation is not easy.
No, no.
So I've been obviously in your shoes where you're kind of
Mhm.
starting off and
Yeah,
trying to be consistent. And like I said, I give all Bears content creators or content creators in general a lot of credit. Swifty, just another year Chicago with Nick,
yeah.
good guy. He's
Hmm.
grinding. Harrison Graham, all everyone
Yeah, yeah.
that
We had him on.
yeah,
He's
everyone that
great.
does it, is awesome.
It's
And we
awesome
all
though. Like everybody's so supportive. That's what I've noticed. Like one of the first people that followed us was Swifty, and I was like, oh my God, like I've been watching this guy forever, and he just followed us. Like, wait a minute. But it
yeah,
was crazy. Like even a lot of the journalists, like Nick Moriano, who we had on, he went to our school. Zach Pearson, Infante. Infante is really funny.
yeah,
If you've got a chance to talk to Infante, he is really funny. Like we found his TikTok.
yeah,
His TikTok is hilarious.
yeah,
He
yeah.
just does like the Kanye dances all the time, and like that's all he does. Well, how are you feeling about the tuning extension though? I know that cleared up some money. Some people were saying, it's just so then we can sign some people going into training camp, but I think there's something else behind it. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Ryan Poles, I think with all the extensions, not just the tuning extension, has a vision in mind. And I feel like he thinks that we're in a win now window.
Mhm.
And I think when you're making these type of extensions or these type of bold moves, you believe in your quarterback. So, with these extensions of not just, Tooney, but Kyler Gordon, and some of the other guys as well, all these extensions are basically in a 3-year window. And the reason why they're in a 3-year window is because that's when Caleb Williams' rookie contract is going to be up,
Mhm.
and they're going to pay him the big bucks. And hopefully, that's the hope for all Bears fans, that we're paying Caleb Williams $70 million per year, because that means you have your long term quarterback, right? So I'm very pleased with it. I like the fact that the cap hit for 2025 is from 16 million down to 8. And
Mhm.
to your point, that signals that there could be one more big move coming. Rather, it's for Trey Hendrickson, maybe at the trade deadline if the Bears are doing good. I know I've been talking a lot about Nick Chubb, maybe adding another running back. I know Bears fans are kind of split 50-50 on that. Or just having the financial freedom if anyone gets injured, just having that extra cap space in your back pocket is going to be huge. I think down the road it may come at an expense, with kind of pushing that money off. That's why the Bears really have to capitalize right now. And I think what Ryan Poles is trying to do is making sure we keep our championship window open, by extending these guys for 3 years, because you obviously want to win. This is every team's goal. You want to win on your rookie quarterback's contract, right? So that's going to be the big thing for the Bears. I think he's doing a hell of a job. I know he's been kind of like the mockery of the NFL,
Yeah,
and NFL
they're
fans
they're
saying
giving
we're
him a
going to
lot of
take the
crap.
North and never giving it back, blah blah blah. But for the first time in a long time, I think it was just a slow process. But it looks like the Bears are close to doing that. So major shout out to Ryan Poles. I think he's
Yeah.
put a fantastic roster out there.
Yeah, I feel like everybody gives him a lot of crap. Like the Claypool move, it made sense. All the moves that he's had, they make sense. It's
Yes.
just the way that they pan out. It's like,
Yeah.
sometimes you can't control that. I
Yeah.
think definitely with Keenan Allen, that was one where it was like, that made a lot of sense. And that was an
Yeah.
amazing move.
Yeah.
You trade a fourth for a guy who came off of his best season yet. I
Yeah.
think the age was something that we should have considered, though. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was just talking about though Kyle Monungai. This has been something I've been going back and forth with people about. I feel like we're giving him a little bit too much hype. That's what I feel like. For a seventh round pick, he's
Yeah.
coming in. He's got, what is it, Travis Homer ahead of him, Roshan Johnson ahead of him. He's got a bit of a ways to go. And people are kind of like, they're really propping him up like he's the next coming of Isaiah Pacheco, which I get. But I was talking about this before he came on. It feels a lot like helmet scouting. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like. It's the similar situation where people were talking crap about Drake May because he went to UNC, wore 10.
Yeah.
People only see the uniform. They don't see the player and the mechanics. But what do you think about Kyle Monangai? Do you think he's going to come in and be a participant, or maybe he's going to ride the bench for a little while?
Yeah, I think the first thing I kind of look at Kyle Monungai, is the zero fumbles in college
Mhm.
is an impressive stat, because you have to be able to take care of the football. I think he's in a odd situation, and to the Kyle Monungai point, we need to make it clear that the Bears were attempting, and there's been multiple reports about them attempting to trade up to try to get Travion Henderson from Ohio State. They were in love with him. Obviously, the Patriots said, nope, we're not going to trade because we
Hmm.
want him. That was unfortunate. So, they were looking at Travion Henderson. I think Kamanungai will be an interesting piece. I think they're going to go into training camp and see what he has. The problem is that, like, to your point, we have Roschon Johnson. Maybe Ben Johnson loves Roschon, and I think he can maybe take the next step behind
Hmm.
DeAndre Swift. We do have Travis Homer. You can even go as deep as Ian Wheeler. Ian Wheeler showed some flashes before tearing his ACL
The Ian
last
Wheeler
preseason,
highlight
right?
tape. Did you see the
So
Ian Wheeler highlight tape?
I don't know. I don't
I
know,
love that.
and that's why I'm a big advocate of going to get Nick Chubb. He looks healthy, and I think I keep saying the term. It's a low impact. I forgot the term that I always use,
Low
but it's
risk, high
like a
reward.
low risk, high
Yeah.
reward move, right? At this point in his career, I like Coleman guy. I'm not gonna put him on a pedestal. He's a 7th round pick at the end of the day. He could come out there and shock us. But at the end of the day, the experience behind DeAndre Swift really scares me.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about DeAndre Swift is like they kept playing him on the inside, and that should have been Roshan's job. They got to
Yes.
bounce him to the outside. They got to have
Right.
pulling guard going. Like that's what they got to do. Because when I played football, the most effective runs that they would have against us would be those speed guys on the outside. They bring the guard, and then it would just be a train. It never
Yeah.
made any sense to me. They'd
Yeah.
screen them out like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
the Shane Waldron conundrum.
There was
Man,
a
what
play
else?
against the Packers. There was a play against the Packers,
Yes,
to your
yes. I
point, where
love that
they
one.
actually gave DeAndre Swift a toss,
With
and he
Braxton
juked
Jones.
he juked Xavier McKinney out of his cleats. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is the DeAndre Swift that we signed, right?
Yes.
And people give DeAndre Swift a lot of crap, but if you really think what he
Mhm.
did with the Eagles and their offensive line and how now we've bolstered our offensive line, he's going to benefit from Ben Johnson. I understand people are like, oh, well, the first time he was with Ben Johnson in Detroit, they traded him away. I guess it's a valid point, but it seems like Ben Johnson's ready to go to work with DeAndre Swift. So I'm really excited for Swift behind this new, hopefully an improved offensive line here in Chicago. And I think he's going to be great. Behind him is where I'm concerned. I like Roschon Johnson, just hasn't got enough reps, right? I think it's to the point where he's been always known as the short yardage goal line guy. And I think we
Mhm.
can take the next step with Roschon Johnson at this point. But I really don't know. I think Nick Chubb and even a guy like J.K. Dobbins could be an option
I was
once he
just
gets
saying, yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's so interesting because that is definitely a place where we can kind of be a little bit flexible. But I was talking about this with my co-host,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that, I haven't heard much about, but it's the fact that maybe DeAndre Swift, he kind of get propped up a little bit by that Eagles O line. Like that got him a good contract. He comes in, he's kind of like middle of the pack when he was with the Lions. He goes
Yeah.
to the Eagles, same with Saquon, goes to the Eagles, massive, basically the MVP.
Yeah.
So beyond that, I'm trying to think. We had a few questions here. Just biggest holes. What do you feel are the biggest holes besides running back right now?
Yeah, I would love, and ironically enough, I would love to see one more edge rusher.
Mhm.
Uh, I think I like the pickup of Dio Dengbo. I think he fits everything that Dennis Allen wants in a defensive end. But it sounds like they're going to move him a lot inside and outside. Same with Javon Dexter. I would love a move like Smith, for example. I think that's his name. I blanking on his
Preston
name
Smith
right now.
or
Not Preston.
Zadarius?
Zadarius Smith, right? He's played
Zadarius,
for
yeah.
every single NFC North team besides the Bears. I always think that's funny.
Hmm.
And he's been productive. He's like literally an 8 sack, a year type of guy. Would bring good veteran leadership. If they do go out and get Trey Hendrickson, I think that would be nice as well. I just don't want to pay the massive fee
Yeah.
to trade for a guy and pay him.
That's a
But
win now thing.
I could definitely see them going to get an edge rusher. I think secretly safety can be still a need on this roster as
Hmm.
well, just because Jaquan Brisker is coming back. I think he's going to be good to go, but his injury history scares me. Kevin Byard's on the last year of his contract. Same with Jaquan Brisker. So I don't know what their plan is in terms of if they're going to extend Brisker. Hopefully he can stay healthy and we can give him an extension. Kevin Byard is on the older side. Played really well last year, but he is on the older side at this point in his career. I know they got a couple of guys through underdrafted free agency and all that stuff. Um, I
Yeah,
know
it
I
was the guy from Oregon, and then I think the guy from LSU, right?
right, and then I
Yeah.
know that we have the guy from Cal that
Hmm.
has been pretty good too over the last couple of years as a reserve special team guy. But I think safety
Mhm.
could be a sneaky need for this team as well, along with
Hmm.
that rusher.
So if you had to pick at safety, that's an interesting one. I actually kind of want to follow up on this because
Mhm.
I was high on Nick Eamon. I think that's his name, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to botch that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
The South Carolina, he was just, oh my God, the measurables, like 6'3". Like if we got him, I would have been over the moon, but that would have been a bit of a middle finger to Kevin Byard. But who are you scouting? Do you have anybody in mind for like safety or any of these positions in the draft, or would you just prefer a free agent signing?
I would probably say like a free agent signing. I'm not sure if a guy like Justin Simmons, for example, is still available. Just a guy
I think
that
he
they,
is.
yeah, a guy that can just come in and just be kind of like a veteran leader. The only thing about Justin Simmons is that he's probably going to want to start, and I don't know if there's going to be space for him on this Bears roster. I haven't really gone a deep dive on who what kind of safeties could be out there for the Bears. I know Javon Holland was a guy that I kind of liked at the beginning of free agency as well. But it's just one of those things. Are these guys willing to come in and kind of be, I guess, rotational guys? I know we have Jonathan Owens as well that
Mhm.
played pretty well. Um, but yeah, guys like Javon Holland, Justin Simmons are kind of guys I've kind of, poked my head around
Yeah.
it time to time.
I was high on Holland too. I was telling Gustavo, who's my co-host, I'm like,
Yeah.
don't be surprised if we sign Holland. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously there was no surprises, but yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting. I think that kind of nod of confidence towards Gordon compared to Brisker, when
Yeah.
Gordon's kind of been quietly more impactful, but Brisker's been like the louder impact. He's got the
Yeah.
hits, he's got like the big plays, especially against New England when he got
Yeah.
cleated in the Nards. Oh,
Yeah.
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, that was a crazy game. When Mac Jones, what happened to him? He's like, they were saying he's like a dirty player.
Yeah, he secretly is. Yeah, and I was like, he's just seems like this normal guy, but then you start seeing these clips kind of compile, like, oh, he's actually doing some dirty stuff.
He's
I'm like,
evil.
oh, all right, interesting. Yeah, but to your point on Brisker, man, I definitely thought when he went down with that concussion, was detrimental to this defense, along with Andrew Billings being out for the year as well. I think having those two guys back, what we added with Grady Jarrett and Javon
Mhm.
Dexter coming back nice and lean, I
That's
think
so hype.
it's gonna be
It's gonna be
fun, man.
great,
It's gonna
man.
be fun for sure.
It's so hype. Let's see. So we get Brisker. What would you sign Brisker for? Would it be like a 2, 3 year deal, or would you sign him like 4?
It just depends. If he can stay healthy, it may have to be another prove it year deal. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'll give you 1 or 2 years, or even maybe in a year. Like, you got to prove it again. Like, can you stay healthy for
Yeah.
consecutive seasons before I give you like that Kyler Gordon money? Because I think
Yeah.
Kyler Gordon's a baller, and then no one can tell me
Hmm.
otherwise. He is, to me, when healthy, one of the best safeties in the game. I really believe that, one of the best young safeties. It's just the injuries. It's just the injuries, man. But yeah, if he can come and show us that he can stay healthy, I'll be fine giving him a 3 year
Yeah,
deal.
he's so great. Like he reminds me of kind of a mini Brian Dawkins, where like
Yeah,
if he's playing in zone, they're not
yeah,
going to throw it there because he's just going to tee off on your guy.
yeah,
Either that or
yeah,
like I don't. Was he getting burnt at one point? I feel like. Oh no, that was Stevenson. That was Stevenson
yeah,
who was getting
yeah, yeah,
burnt. How
yeah.
about Stevenson though? I wanted to talk about this with a couple people and I forgot about it. I feel like Stevenson's getting a little bit too much crap. I feel like that Washington game completely derailed everything because we were talking about him as like one of the best young corners that
Of
we
course,
had,
of
and
course.
then the Washington game happens, and that obviously I feel like that killed his confidence a little bit. So do you think that he is still a good young corner, or are we going to move on from him? Because I think the Washington game could easily be a nail in the coffin for him.
Yeah, I think he still has the potential to be a very good corner in the NFL. But I think there's going to be a heavy competition between him and Terrell Smith as well. And Terrell Smith has really shown some solid reps, not only in practice but the games from time to time. So I think they're going to compete for that cornerback 2 spot alongside Jalen Johnson. I feel bad for Tyreek Stevenson because there's games where it's like, man, this kid is really, really good. But then there's
Mhm.
games like the Commanders games where he's like just doing mental stuff.
Yeah.
I think with the new coaching staff and overall, accountability is going to be up there. That's not what we saw with Eberflus and his coaching staff. There wasn't a lot of accountability, so they kind of got to do what they wanted. I think the accountability for not just Tyreek Stevenson, but for every single player on this roster is going to be there. And I think that's going to help a guy like him. So I'm really looking forward to see if he can have a bounce back a season because we really need him to. That's a position that you probably don't want to concern yourself with. It's a premium spot on this roster. I know like I said, we have Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith. I'm hoping that one of those guys can pan out alongside Jalen.
Yeah, it's just crazy because it feels like he kind of gets very confident. Because I think what happened with that Washington game was he's all confident. He's
Yeah,
like trying to be like, oh, like screw you fans, like we
yeah.
won. It's that rookie mistake, and that's just honestly like the worst mistake that you could make. Like,
Well, what made it bad was he was taunting the
yeah,
Commanders,
he's like flicking him off, and
and then he's the one that tips the ball to Noah Brown for the
wait, he
game winning.
was?
Yeah, he's the
He
one that
was?
actually tipped the ball. Yeah, if you rewatch it,
No
he's
way.
the one that got the
What?
hand on the football. Yeah,
Oh my God, that's even
yeah,
worse. I didn't know that.
yeah.
I
You go
thought it was just like
rewatch it after this, and you're
I'm
gonna be
gonna
like,
I'm
wow,
gonna I'm gonna put a clip over that after this if I once I put out the content for this
yeah,
podcast. So we'll see. That's crazy. I had no idea about that. I thought
yeah.
it
And
was
that's what
just
made
like a
it
scrum of
bad.
people.
No, no, like if you
Really?
watch, it's Tyreek Stevenson that gets a hand on the football, and it goes backwards, and yeah.
Oh man, poor guy. That must have been a tough bus ride home for him. They
Oh,
probably
absolutely.
they probably fucking can't swear on the podcast, but they probably just like put him up on the goalpost there and just like, okay, you got to sit out there for a little while. I don't know. We're too far into the podcast. I don't think the managers are going to be watching.
Unbelievable, man. Just an unbelievable turn of events. And that was
That's
just a weird
horrible.
game overall because the Bears didn't play good enough to win that football game overall. Like
Yeah,
the offense just
yeah.
didn't look good. The defense was playing well. They kept us in the football game. But it's just like when we took the lead late, I was like, what a gritty game to win, you know. And when that happened, I was just stunned. It ruined it took me about 2 or 3 weeks to get over that one. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
was so mad. And then the
Yeah.
Packers kick where we missed or
Yeah.
they blocked it. Oh, I
Yeah.
remember. I have this like ritual, right? Where
Mhm.
whenever the Bears are playing, and like especially against the Packers, I'll just turn off the TV. Because then they start winning. Every time I turn off the TV, they start winning. And then I turn it back on, they start losing. So we're about to kick the field goal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't watch this. They're totally gonna miss it. So I turn off the TV and I just go into the bathroom and I'm like on ESPN waiting for the kick to go through. And I just totally gonna go through. And it's like missed field goal, Packers win. And I hear my neighbor just scream, like loud F word. And, oh my God, I feel like half my apartment building was just up in flames after that. But
Yeah.
I mean that Packers win was great. I actually, fun fact, I connected with Josh Blackwell on what is it, LinkedIn. That was crazy. But that was a really great game that we had at the end of the season against the Packers, where you have the 94-yard kick return, which reminded me a lot of what happened last, what is it, not last year, where we had Jakeem Grant and
Yep.
Justin Fields, and then he ran it back, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna win!"
Yeah.
I was so apprehensive, but man, that kick when Cairo he's doing like the pointing, oh man, that felt so good. Like, when was it? When was the last time we had beaten them? Like 2018?
Yeah, it's been like 8 years. It was 2018, I believe. Yeah, last
Oh
time we
man.
we beat the Packers. And the funny thing about, Bears Packers is that it always seems that we play the better game, but they
Hmm.
always come out on top. Like you can
They
make an
get very
argument
lucky.
the Bears could have swept them last year. Like
Yeah.
easily. Like it came down to the same scenario both games. Um
The field
I
goal every time.
and I know there's a lot of Bears fans that were unhappy with the win because of the fact that it ruined our draft positioning. And I'm like, that does not matter when you're playing the
Yeah.
Packers. Like you have to beat the Packers, no matter if you are 0-15 at the time you play them or 15-0. You must beat the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, like we can't be poopy about that stuff when the Texans lost for us and we had Lovey Smith basically give us Caleb Williams. It's
That
like,
is
come
crazy.
on, like that was like that was a massive catalyst in the NFL. Like,
Yes.
if that did not happen, DJ Moore doesn't leave Carolina. I don't think. Like, do you think that they trade DJ Moore? Because who would have gotten it? The Texans, and they probably would have taken. I feel like they would have taken Bryce.
Yeah, I think the
Because
Texans. Yeah, the Texans. Like, that was the thing that anyone that had the number one overall pick that year was taking Bryce Young. No, no problem. Like that was the
no,
consensus
but
number.
but did you see who was it? Carolina's QB coach, former guy, had
Uh-huh.
said to CJ Stroud to get a house in Carolina. Like
Oh, okay.
that was
Maybe.
crazy.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
like
Yeah,
I'm
maybe it
pretty sure
was.
who was it?
So
The QB with the spiked hair, the blonde guy with the spiked hair. He played on the Bears for a little bit. He's QB coach now.
oh,
You're
McCown?
like McCown, yeah,
McCown. Oh, yeah.
McCown. went up to Stroud and is like, "Hey, buy a house in Carolina. Like
I do
we
remember that
want you."
video. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
that was horrible. But I'm glad Stroud has kind of panned out. That like it
Yeah.
scares me when a guy like Stroud has such a good year and then you see like Jaden Daniels. I don't know. I hope we have no buyer's remorse with Caleb, but you see a guy like Jaden Daniels, and then we have to play against him, and now it's a rivalry. Like we are now technically rivals with the Commanders because of that. But do you feel like we're rivals with them?
Not necessarily. I think it's just the narrative of the number one versus number two overall pick. It's bound to happen. They're going to be connected at the hip for the rest of their career. That's just how
Mhm.
it is. Caleb Williams will get another opportunity in Washington again. So
Mhm.
that's gonna be a great game. And I think the Bears remember what happened, and I think they're gonna go in there and
Yeah.
try to put on a statement. And I do want to note that with the whole Carolina Panthers trade, when the infamous trade for the Panthers at least, they did not want to give up DJ Moore. They
Oh
wanted they
yeah.
Yeah, so apparently they were more willing originally to give up Brian Burns to the Bears. Because I think originally Ryan Poles wanted Burns, and I think the Panthers like, well, no, and then they're like, well, how about DJ Moore? And then they ended up getting rid of DJ Moore. But
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted to get rid of anybody, but I think they're more willing to get rid of Burns at the moment. But then Ryan Poles is like, hey, I really like DJ Moore too, and the
Yeah.
rest is history. So
That seems like something where they just had one phone call and then like one guy just pitched like, why don't we just trade DJ Moore? And then they're like instantly, okay, yeah, we'll put in the trade. And then they go to sleep and they're like, oh, what have we done?
yeah, that
That's
was dumb. It's
it was
dumb.
so dumb. And the amount of capital that they gave up and all the stuff that we got from it, it's like, oh my gosh. Because, I mean, they have a good core now. I think the Panthers are going to be a good team this year. Like,
Yeah.
I think with T-Mac, I actually met T-Mac because I used to go to
Okay.
University of Arizona
Okay.
and I met him at a few parties. He's a cool dude, but
Yeah.
big. Like, but he's kind of lanky. Like,
Yeah.
he's not very stocky like you'd expect, but he's long. And
Yeah.
that's really what gives him that advantage. And I love that. And I love Leggett. Adam Thielen was good for them. I don't think he's coming back though, is he?
I don't
Or are
know.
you
I don't
just a
know.
Bears guy?
Yeah, I don't know if he's on under contract. I think he may be under contract for at least one more year. Because
Yeah.
I think they signed him to a 2 year deal. So yeah, I think with him, T Mac and Leggett, and then they revamped their offensive line over there as well. Uh, the Panthers could be sneaky, and when you look
Yeah.
at the division that they're in, could be competitive. It just depends really on Young.
Yeah, and they have a lot of really good young pieces too. But back to the Bears. Back to the Bears. How do you feel about Braxton Jones? I know a lot of people are iffy about him. I liked him mainly just for the fact that he was one of the only consistent pieces that we had, but now he's kind of the outlier. So how do you feel about him?
Here's the thing about Braxton Jones. He's coming off that broken fibula. There's pros and cons to it. The pros are he comes back and he can play under Ben Johnson next to Joe Tooney. Maybe Ben Johnson can take him to the next level because the running thing with Braxton Jones that hey, he was a fifth round pick, kind of exceeded his expectations
Yeah.
for a fifth round pick. He
Charles
is
Leno kind of guy.
Charles Leno type of guy, right? Good, but will never be great. Maybe Ben Johnson can push him towards there, right? The cons is you saw the tackle market this offseason for subpar play, subpar tackles. They're getting $20+ million per year. Do the Bears want to pay Braxton Jones 20 million plus next year?
Not
You know what I
even
mean? If you
not
put out a
even
poll, if you put out a poll for most Bears fans, they'll be like, hell to the no. Sorry for I know you don't want
Yeah.
to cut.
Oh, I
Heck
don't
to
care.
the
We're too
yeah,
far in it. We can say whatever
heck,
at this point.
heck to the no, I'm
Hell
not paying
no.
Braxton Jones. And then you think about what they did last season, Karana Magaji. And I know a lot of
I
Bears fans,
didn't like that.
a lot
I
of
didn't
Bears
like
fans are like,
that.
oh, he's terrible. But think about it. He was coming off a quad injury, didn't participate in training camp, didn't participate in preseason. The Bears coaches basically threw him to the Wolves against the Texans. He wasn't ready.
Oh
Now he got
God.
the full offseason, right? He has good measurables. He's 36-inch arms, athletic. I think he could be in play. Ozzy Trapillo, what, six
I
eight?
like him.
Right?
Yeah. That's a
Now they're
big
going to
dude.
compete. So my thing is that while Braxton Jones is out, because he's not going to be ready for the start of training camp, you have Audrey Trapillo and Amagaji battling it out. You get to really see what you have in those guys. If those guys perform well in training camp while Braxton Jones is out, Braxton Jones could very well be on the move. That's just my personal opinion. I like Braxton Jones though, but once again, I think he's already exceeded expectations as a fifth round pick.
Now, one thing that I wanted to point out was the fact
Mhm.
that when going into training camp, Ben Johnson was like, "There's no depth chart." I feel like that's kind of, it's kind of a lie. But
Yeah, Yeah.
To that point, I feel like he's saying that specifically for some positions, likely running back and maybe even
Yep.
left tackle.
Yep.
In my opinion, the best way that we can figure this out is we start Jones week one, and
Yep.
then we have him come in rotationally with Trapillo. And then we kind of like, honestly, I would put Amagagi at a guard. I feel like what wasn't his arms like a thing that was concern.
Well, I
I
think he
feel
had
like
36-inch arms, and that's
36?
that's long for a
That
tackle.
is. Huh. They had some, I think it was the hamstring though, but
Mhm.
I feel like if they kind of rotate between Jones and then Trapillo, I feel like they're going to opt for the guy who's on the rookie contract. He's young. He's like really big. Like
Yeah.
he's got that puffy face too. He's a little cutie pie. Uh, Man, I like that pick though, and I also like Shamar Turner. I think that is one that he is a really high motor guy. Like
Yeah.
you've seen his plays against Notre Dame, like just everything. He'll cut right through that line,
Yeah.
and I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about him enough because he was our second round pick, including Luther Burden. And I mean, I want your opinion on Shamar because I liked him. He's
Mhm.
definitely not Shamar Stewart, who has been having some problems,
Yeah.
but I liked him though. But how do you feel about him?
Yeah, high motor guy. Has a little edge to him, which I like. I'm not sure if you saw that clip of him just clocking somebody
Yeah,
right in
yeah.
the man parts, right? I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
all right. So yeah, has a nice edge to him. Versatility, could play inside, outside once again. I think that's once again that was a Dennis Allen pick. What they were able to accomplish in the trenches, because you win and lose in the trenches, was remarkable. And no one is really talking about him. It's interesting. I think once we get to training camp and they see his reps and they see him going against the starting offensive line, like Drew Dahlman, for example,
Yeah.
uh, I think that's when he'll start getting talked about. But I think it was an outstanding pick at the time. I think personally, if I had to go back, I would probably invest in a running back. At
Hmm.
that point, I like Luther Burden, but I'm talking about with Shamar
Yeah.
Turner. I would probably took a running back, but I think when you look at it, we're trying to build the trenches up on both offense and defense. So I didn't have any problem with it.
Now, this is one thing that I've been hearing a lot, and it's that the coaches are making picks. That's very different because
Yeah,
before it was Ryan Poles, the RAS score, all of that stuff. That's why I feel like Hippolyte was a Poles pick and not a Dennis Allen pick. He's got
yeah,
that 4.41 speed. We made this AI that uses kind of open information to basically make an RAS score for people who didn't run it. And he
right,
scored really well, like high nines.
yeah,
So that was really interesting. And a lot of people were giving him crap. They're like, oh, he was going to go undrafted. No, that is a Ryan Poles pick. And I
yeah,
guarantee you, if it comes out and they ask, okay, who made that pick? Ruben Hippolyte, they're going to tie him right to Poles.
yeah,
But I also do want your opinion on Hippolyte because, like, I like him. I feel like he's fast and physical, but, like, we got Noah Sewell and, who else was it? 92. Alan Johnson. Somebody else.
And there's Caleb
Greg
Johnson. I know Hardy's the edge rusher.
Hardy. Yeah.
And then we
I get
lost
him
Jack
confused with the
Sanborn in free
USC
agency.
guy.
Yeah, and then we lost
Yeah.
Jack Sanborn in free agency, so they had to replace Sanborn. Yeah, Hippolyte was a shocker, but I think when you look at once again the RIS and the measurements and how he's extremely fast, sideline to sideline, a smart player, that definitely was a Ryan Poles pick. Like, hey, we're gonna take a chance on him. I think what we have in the trenches, defensive line, because I like to say that when you're drafting linebackers and secondaries and safeties, whatever, they can only be as good as your defensive line. If your front four are getting consistent pressure, that makes your linebacker's job and the cornerback's job a whole lot easier. So
Mhm.
this defense is going to be built on speed and aggressiveness and having that edge. And when you watch Hippolyte, he fits all those items for Dennis Allen and Ryan Poles and what they want to build with this defense, right? So I'm excited to see his opportunity. I think the preseason we'll get to see him. There's probably gonna be a couple other guys fighting for that spot. But what an opportunity from you're already
Yeah.
playing with, to me, two pretty good linebackers in Edmonds and TJ Edwards. So I'm excited for him. It's one of
Yeah.
those things that he could be a developmental guy or he can shock us. I think
You kind of have to
definitely
come around to it.
he's definitely going to probably be a
Yeah.
solid special teamer right away. I'll tell you that.
Hmm. Especially with that speed. Like
Yeah.
oh my God. I think though, what's going to happen is what I had pitched was that maybe we put Tremaine Edmonds at the edge because he's a really long
Yeah.
guy. He reminds me a lot
Yeah.
of Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
That was my thing. And I said, okay, you put TJ in the middle, but you can also play Edmonds at a spy, which is what I really like. Because you saw, especially in Buffalo, he's got that sideline to sideline speed.
Yeah.
One of the clips that always circulated was like him going sideline to sideline to tackle that guy.
Yeah.
And then you see him in here, and he's like playing zone. It's like we're playing zone, or like man, it's like come on, or they have him on like a receiver, which is it's fine, but just feel like what if it's not across the middle and he's not in that because he has to play the middle linebacker spot, to excel, and especially in that sideline to sideline role.
Right.
But I don't know, I'm excited about it, and I think that we're going to have a lot of opportunities with Hippolyte, especially if our defensive line can kind of stuff everything, and then
Yeah.
he can just kind of come around the edge. That's what I'm excited about. But got one more question for you here, and then we'll let you go on this nice Memorial Day weekend. Which
Yeah.
Bears player, rookie, are you going to be popping their jersey?
Which Bears rookie am I going to be
Ah,
popping their jersey? Oh, man. It would probably have to be between probably Luther Burden or Colston Loveland. I think with Luther Burden, I just love his energy. I just love how he has that edge. He's pissed off.
yeah.
I think he is about to explode. He's perfect for the city of Chicago, and just having that edge. Yeah, I think it may have to be Luther Burden. It may have to be Luther Burden because I really like him. Um, I don't know, man. I've been kind of slow on getting jerseys because I got frustrated at a point because I was like, man, I keep getting these guys jerseys, like these quarterback jerseys, right? And they don't
They're
last
expensive as hell too.
and they're
Like a hundred
expensive.
some
And,
bucks.
and then they get traded away or they don't re-sign them. And I'm like, man. So I'm like, you know what? I put my last name on a custom jersey because I will never be traded, never cut, right? So that's what I started doing. But yeah, I may have to get Luther Burden jersey for sure.
Yeah, I actually found a Muhammad jersey,
Nice.
87. My mom found it at a real estate sale. It's like a massive, like double
Yes.
XL. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the podcast here. This has been awesome. Like, I'm so happy to have been able to have you on. I'm genuinely so honored. So, thank you everybody for listening. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here, but thank you all for